The office that drained him. There's this guy, we'll call him Jay. Jay worked in an open concept office that always looked modern but felt like a pressure cooker. The kind of place where passive aggressiveness is an Olympic sport and the air always smells like burnt coffee and broken dreams. Jay wasn't flashy. He was the type who showed up early, left late, and stayed quiet during meetings, but always got his work done. Actually, more than done. He carried half the team silently. The kind of guy who made others look good without asking for credit. And that was his problem. See, people like Jay? They get taken for granted. Overlooked. Used. His manager, let's call her Karen, was the worst offender. She was the kind of person who weaponized professionalism. Always smiling. Always circling back. And just checking in. But underneath all that HR-approved tone was a constant hum of disrespect. She never praised Jay's work in front of the team. But the moment anything went wrong, she was on him like a hawk. Late email? Jay's fault. Spreadsheet error? Jay must have missed something. And the team? They followed her lead. They weren't outright cruel. Just dismissive. Exclusionary. The kind of social frost that eats away at your self-worth one awkward silence at a time. Jay was exhausted. Not just from work, from being invisible. From watching louder, lazier coworkers get promotions while he kept the machine running in the background. And on that particular Wednesday, something snapped. Conflict escalation, the final straw. It was already a rough morning. Jay had spent the night fixing a broken client dashboard. Not his job, but no one else could do it. He'd only gotten 3 hours of sleep. So when Karen pulled him into a quick sync that turned into a 30-minute lecture about attitude and ownership, something inside him broke. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just looked at her while she talked, eyes hollow, pulse pounding in his ears. Then she ended with this gem. If this isn't working for you, Jay, maybe you should think about what really matters to you here. A thinly veiled threat. He stared at her for a beat longer, then calmly closed his laptop, stood up, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "I choose peace." Turning point. Walking away like a legend. No one knew what to say. The office, which had been buzzing with keyboards, phone calls, and fake laughter, went dead silent. It was like a movie scene. Jay picked up his bag, slid his laptop inside with a quiet click, slung it over his shoulder, and walked out. Not stormed. Not flinched. Just walked. He didn't slam a door. Didn't even glance back. And for 2 full hours no one knew what had happened. Revenge payoff. The silent reclamation. 2 hours later the door opened, and there was Jay. Fresh haircut, crisp shirt, holding a bubble tea in one hand, passion fruit, mango popping boba, and a quiet, unreadable expression on his face. He walked back to his desk like nothing happened, sat down, sipped his drink, opened his laptop and started typing. Not a single person, not even Karen, said a word. Not because they didn't want to, because they couldn't. Something about his energy had changed. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. Like a man who'd made peace with himself. And in doing so, completely disarmed everyone else. It was the kind of move that doesn't need an email, or an outburst, or a statement. Because the statement was the silence. And everyone felt it. Behind the scenes, what really happened next? Now here's the part they didn't see. When Jay left that office, he didn't just get a haircut and a tea. He went home and updated his resume, sent a few strategic messages to old colleagues and recruiters, took the rest of the day off. And 2 weeks later, he resigned. But not before securing a 20% salary increase at a competing company, where one of his former coworkers, now in a leadership role, was thrilled to bring him on. Karen tried to act surprised during his exit interview. "Was there anything we could have done to make you stay?" Jay just smiled and said, "I already chose peace," then walked out. For good this time. In the end, Jay didn't need to raise his voice, didn't need to slam doors, send dramatic emails, or get revenge in some loud performative way. He chose peace. But that peace wrecked them, because it forced them to confront themselves, their behavior, their guilt, their powerlessness. And they'll never forget the guy who stood up, said 4 words, and changed the entire tone of the office forever. Sometimes the loudest revenge is the quietest action. When you stop arguing, and start choosing peace not as surrender but as liberation, it shakes people in ways they can't explain. Because nothing's more terrifying than a person who knows their worth and refuses to beg for validation. If this story gave you chills, or if you've ever dreamed of making your own quiet exit, hit that like button and tell us in the comments. What would you do if you were Jay? And hey, subscribe for more stories like this, where karma comes dressed in calm. Until next time, choose peace, but never let them think that means weakness.